Hey guys, my name is Chantel. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for hanging out with me today. So today we're going to talk about the latest chapter of Haikyuu, which is chapter 387. And oh boy, I did not expect this chapter to be focused on Kageyama's backstory. So when I read this chapter, I was like, oh my god, we're doing this right now. Like, we're actually getting Kageyama's backstory. Which, funny enough, I know the whole fandom has been wanting Kageyama's backstory for a while, and they've been asking, they're like, I wonder if we're gonna get it. And sure enough, as soon as the fandom starts questioning that, we get it. But this is not what I expected Kageyama's backstory to be, and I'm just like, holy shit, my poor sweet boy. Like, I just, reading this chapter made me appreciate Kageyama more as a character, and I feel like it made me love him even more. Like, I liked him before, but now I feel like that love that I have for Kageyama like intensified a little bit more, to where he's like slowly like, going up in numbers as my top favorites. So yeah, I guess let's just go ahead and start off with the first thing that surprised me was that Kageyama has an older sister, and I was like, what? What? That was probably like the most shocking thing out of this chapter, just because like, Kageyama hasn't mentioned anything about his family. He's been more like, to himself. We haven't really heard or seen much about like his family and stuff like that, which is fine because, we can't, meet everyone's family with all these characters, right? But the fact that Furodata just decided to drop this here and now, I was like, oh my god. Like, I honestly was freaking out, but also like, man, Kageyama has an older sister. Wow, like, wow. And before we like get to talking about Kageyama's sister and everything, I do want to also mention we did get introduced to another family member from Kageyama, which was his grandfather, and oh my gosh. This chapter was so sad because you can see how close these three were, and just, oh man. Like, at the start of the chapter you see just the three of them, and it's always been like the three of them. Kageyama's sister has always played volleyball up to a certain point, and it seemed like she really enjoyed it, and she enjoyed spending time with her grandfather. And Kageyama, you can see her in like little panels, like she's like playing with Kageyama with the ball and stuff like that, which was very, very adorable. And it looks like she was having a lot of fun playing volleyball up to, like I said, a certain point where she's a lot older, and she tells her grandfather, you know what, I don't want to play anymore, like, that's it for me. And obviously he's gonna ask why, and we learned the reason why she decided to quit, and that reason is actually because she wanted to keep her hair long. And it was interesting just to hear, because she said that, it's kind of an unwritten rule that for girls they need to keep their hair short, and I was like, huh, that's kind of interesting. But all in all, I think that's like a valid reason for not continuing. Like, that's just her choice, her decision for not continuing. She wants to keep her hair, do whatever she wants with it. And it kind of made me sad though that her boyfriend told her straight up that it was stupid, like that was a stupid reason. But I do like that the grandfather, he was just like, no, like, that's fine, like, that your reasons are your reasons, and you don't really need to explain them to anybody. And I thought that was really nice of the grandfather. And that's pretty much it with Kageyama's sister. We do get to see her, in this time skip at the end of the chapter, to see like what she looks like now, what she's been up to, and she's just basically like a hairstylist, beauty stylist thing. Yeah. Moving on from the sister, I do want to talk about the grandfather for a little bit. Oh man, this part was like really, really sad, because you can see just how much he loved his grandfather and how much of an impact, his grandfather had on Kageyama. And he was the reason why he wanted to be the setter, because there was a moment where he asked, hey, who is it that touches the ball a lot? Because that's what I want to do. And he's like, oh, it's the setter. And he's like, that's what I want to be. And, it's just so interesting to see how his introduction to volleyball was because of his grandfather. It was thanks to him that he loves the sport. He learned all these things about volleyball thanks to his grandfather, and he would always like be there with him Like there was moments where his grandfather told him, you know, you can't play today because we do have a game, and he's just like, it's fine, I'm totally fine watching. And I'm like, oh, like it's just so sweet. Like we start to see Kageyama grow over the years, and he's always just confiding in his grandfather. And we start to slowly see like his grandfather is obviously getting older, a lot more tired, and there's a point where we start to see him in the hospital, and he's just like, oh my gosh, you know, like I'm in middle school now. There's like this amazing person on my team, which is Oikawa, and he's like, but he doesn't want to teach me anything. And it's so adorable because his grandfather's like, well, there might be a reason, he might see you as a rival. And he was just explaining to him why, you know, Oikawa might not want to teach Kageyama certain things, or at all basically. And he's just like, oh, like, you know, I guess that was able to help Kageyama like make sense of why Oikawa was acting a certain way, which is nice. And you can just tell like he's just confiding in his grandfather all the time, and he's just like gushing about volleyball and gushing about like things that he's doing in his life, and it's so adorable. And that bond that he had with his grandfather was just so incredibly precious. And sure enough, pretty soon, it was during his middle school days that his grandfather passed away. Which, when his grandfather passed away, is around, I believe, the same time that Kageyama was having trouble with his teammates. And it's just, it sucks so bad because you see like this panel of Kageyama, like, oh my gosh, that panel alone, I was just like, damn. You see him with his sister at the funeral for the grandfather, and he's just alone now. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I hate it. I hate it. I hated seeing Kageyama like that. You can see like this definitely like, you know, obviously he's sad about this, and he's just so lost and confused. And I did not like seeing Kageyama like this. Like, it broke my heart. Oh my gosh, my poor sweet baby boy, no. It was just so sad, and you can tell like he just didn't have anybody else to like confide in, and I'm getting really teary-eyed just thinking about it. The one person that meant a lot to him, and the one person that he could always go to if he had a problem or if he didn't understand something, it was his grandfather. His grandfather was always there, and that's just such a big change in his life. It's gotta be hard to adjust to that and have to deal with that, and then on top of that, having to deal with everything that's going on in your life at school. Like, man, I can't imagine how hard that must have been for Kageyama. Which, backtracking a little bit, before his grandfather passed away, he was able to see him play in a game when he was a little bit more younger. And during this game, you can tell that Kageyama is obviously really good at what he's doing. You can see, you know, the other little kids are having trouble keeping up with him and everything. And his grandfather later on, he's just like, hey, I noticed that you were going a little bit easy on the other kids. Why is that? And Kageyama's just like, you know, I wanted the game to go on longer, and just, he's like, I didn't mean to, I didn't want to, but I wanted to keep playing. And I do like that his grandfather just told him, you know, you don't really have to do that. You know, eventually someone really great and probably even better than you will come along. He's like, I promise you that. And that you can tell that gets Kageyama excited. He's just like, oh man, like, is there really someone out there that's even better than I am? Someone who can keep up with me and like rise to the challenge and be my rival. And the fact that it took so long for Kageyama to find that person, and that person being Hinata, is just, oh my gosh, like, damn. And I do like at the start of this chapter, we're reminded how Suga does say, you know, that Hinata and Kageyama were like each other's best, I think it was like his greatest ally, but now they're each other's greatest opponent. And it's just, oh man. Which leads up to the last panel where we see Hinata, and then like there's this image with Hinata and Kageyama. You can see like they're both like really excited to be playing against each other, and on top of that, both of them are at their best. So that's awesome, because now Kageyama has finally found that person, the person that his grandfather promised would eventually come to him and find him. And that, like I said, it's Hinata. Hinata is here. He's his greatest opponent. He is bringing everything that he's got, and you know, he's rising to the challenge, and it's so beautiful. I'm so glad for Kageyama. Like, oh my gosh, this chapter was really, really nice and really cool to see finally Kageyama's backstory and seeing, you know, his journey with volleyball and how it led up to this point. So I think it's really beautiful, and it's just, oh man. And the fact that this chapter is called The Greatest Opponent, it's like, wow. Like, this chapter was just so fantastic, and like I said at the beginning of my video, it made me appreciate Kageyama's character so much more. It added so much more depth to him. And if you don't like Kageyama after this chapter, I don't know what else to tell you or what to say, because wow, like wow, this chapter was just fantastic. So I think that pretty much wraps up my overall thoughts with this week's chapter. Overall, it was a really, really fantastic chapter. I'm really glad that we were able to see Kageyama's backstory and know more about him. And yeah, like, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my ramblings as always, and I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Be careful out there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!